Going into Dragon Ball Super episode 79, we are on the cusp of not only the beginning of the Tournament of Power, but also the Zen exhibition match, which we know the first match will be Majin Buu of the 7th universe versus Basil of the 9th universe. Now, the last time we saw Majin Buu engage in a prolonged fight was against Kid Buu. Buu did battle against Beerus, but again, that was a one-hitter quitter. Sit the fuck down, son. Buu did not stand a chance against Beerus, so it's difficult to even really factor that in. In this video, I want to go over some of the techniques that Majin Buu, Fat Majin Buu, Mr. Buu, whatever you want to call him, good Majin Buu, some of the techniques he has used in the past against some of the Z fighters, as well as during his battle with Kid Buu. And I want to try and see if we can figure out some sort of interesting way Majin Buu might start fighting when the Zen exhibition match continues against Basil, and eventually when we move on to the Tournament of Power. Now, the first thing I wanted to go over, we're not entirely clear how the format of the Tournament of Power is going to work. Now, we obviously know that the Zen exhibition match is a series of one-on-one fights. So this ability right here, Buu's healing ability, will not probably factor in to the battle against Basil, because while it does appear as though Buu can heal others, and he does have ridiculous stamina, I don't believe he can just outright heal himself. That's really wacky and kind of, again, I'm not talking about like regeneration, like the same regeneration we saw him do, after Majin Vegeta blew himself up, or even after we saw, Super Buu do it countless times. I'm not really talking about that, but this magic ability that Buu has to heal others. I've got two examples here, although he's done it numerous times. The first time we really get a good look at it is when he heals Babidi. Babidi, who had been bisected by Piccolo only a few moments prior. And Buu is able to heal him completely, fix all of his body parts that were removed, and everything restores him to full health. And another notable example I tacked on here is when Majin Buu heals this blind child right here and allows him to see for the first time. Now, I believe this healing ability of Majin Buu's could become a factor if there are some sort of team battles. Now, again, we don't know what's going to go on in the Tournament of Power. For all we know, it could be different each match, which would be cool. One time there could be a one-on-one fight, Goku versus a mysterious guy in the intro, for example. Or maybe the next fight would be a 2v2. That, I think, would be really interesting. And that would be a good way to kind of mix the tournament up rather than just have this stale, same old formula that now, this is what, like the 7th or 8th or 9th tournament we've seen in Dragon Ball? So some sort of different format like that could be cool. And if there was a format like that, then Buu's healing power could be a real factor. Now, some people might point to, perhaps, Goku and Vegeta could get fucked up, and then Buu could heal them, activating their Zenkai ability. But, I'll go into that maybe in a different video, but it doesn't appear as though Zenkais are really a thing anymore. And then the newest chapter of the Dragon Ball Super manga, in which Goku Black is able to get a Zenkai, but Vegeta and Goku more or less are not. Trunks kind of theorizes that their potential is tapped out. So I don't think the healing would factor in as in giving Goku and Vegeta Zenkais, but just restoring, him, Goku, Vegeta, 18, 17, Tien, anyone he's fighting with back up to full. It could be a nice little twist in their fights. Now, I briefly mentioned it a little while, but I did think it was important enough to outright state as well. Remember, Buu is capable of completely regenerating himself from almost nothing. Now, there is definitely a point of no return, either from a humongously powerful attack, or I believe if you whittle down Buu's stamina enough, you can defeat him. I think in the case of Kid Buu being completely erased, I think that was just an overwhelming powerful attack. But judging by the way Fat Buu was running out of ki, essentially, towards the end of his battle with Kid Buu, and the fact that Dende had to essentially heal him for Kid Buu to get back up on his feet, or for Fat Majin Buu to get back up on his feet after the battle with Kid Buu, then I do think there is a limit. They're not just infinite surviving creatures, obviously, But if Buu is blown to pieces, he can regenerate himself. That, of course, could become a factor in this tournament. Now, this next ability of Majin Buu's, this could become quite interesting, is Buu's ability to seemingly ape, as I believe Goku says in his battle with Buu, is able to ape any kind of technique that he sees and then turn it back against his opponent. You know, throughout the series, we see Buu copy a number of techniques used by the Z Fighters, and I think if some of these warriors from other universes pull out some crazy, like, advanced, specialized techniques, it would be cool to then see Buu maybe turn it back on themselves. I think that would be a neat little idea. Now, I almost kind of get the feeling that Toriyama and Toei, they might kind of sweep this under the rug. I'm not so sure we'll see Buu aping a lot of the other universe fighters' techniques, but it is definitely a possibility. Now we can move on to Majin Buu's perhaps most infamous technique, and that is his ability not necessarily to turn people and objects into candy or chocolate, but he appears to be able to turn anything into anything. I mean, there's not really a lot of limits as to what we see with this. I mean, Majin Buu transforms his face into Barry Khan, who of course makes a cameo in Dragon Ball Super. If you guys remember, there was a magazine that he was looking at, and then he modeled his face after that. Obviously, he turned Dabura into a cookie and ate him. He turned countless humans into candy and ate them. This ability of Buu's to essentially turn anything into anything could be interesting, and if the animators at Toei, if they wanted to get creative, they could do some really interesting things with this. I mean, this is a technique that doesn't have a lot of limits on it and would allow us to see some interesting things. I mean, I kind of hope this is the reason Majin Buu is here in the first place, is because it's like, okay, so Tien, for example, Tien has had a lot of special techniques, so he's not the best example. Remember, he had the four-armed attack, he does the multi-form, the Teo-Ken, the Tri-Beam, the Dodon Ray. Tien has a ton of normal attacks, but take, Android 17, for example. He punches, he kicks, he shoots energy blasts, he has a barrier. A lot of the fighters, they fight similarly. There's not really usually drastic fighting styles. In Dragon Ball Super, they've expanded definitely a little bit. Think of, Hit or Merge Zamasu having, unique kind of abilities. But for the longest time, Dragon Ball was mainly just punch, kick, normal energy blast. So if they could really, kind of do something special with these techniques of Buu's, I think that would really benefit the Universal Survival arc quite a lot, actually. Now, I just wanted to toss this attack in here just for a second to briefly talk about it. This is a pretty basic attack that we've seen a lot of characters use. Notably, Piccolo uses it in his tournament match against Goku, where they, just kind of a super explosive wave. They build up their ki, and then they explode it outwards. We see Buu use this to great effect against Majin Vegeta, and I believe he also uses it in the anime filler fight against base form Gotenks. Now, I'm not sure exactly how powerful this is in comparison to some of his other techniques. I would say we're not likely to see this technique, considering this is a tournament, and that sort of type of explosion would probably destroy the ring and possibly damage other people. Now, obviously, I would imagine all of the Gods of Destruction are way stronger than Buu, so it's not like he would hurt them, but this kind of technique probably will not be utilized here. Moving on, we have another interesting technique that Buu did. We saw Fat Buu do this mainly against Majin Vegeta, where he takes his fat off, and he kind of uses that to constrict his opponent so that they can't move, and then he beats them down. Judging by the next episode preview, these wolf fighters appear to be incredibly agile, so I would not be shocked at all if Buu busted this technique out in his battle against Basil. I mean, just think about it. If Basil is super fast and utilizes kicks, I mean, isn't the episode title Basil the Kicker? He's clearly all about speed and kicking, so why not constrict his movements with this ability right here? I think we really might see this one. This next technique, I guess this isn't really notable since basically every character ever can use a Kamehameha, but based upon the amount of enemies who use the Kamehameha and how effective Goku has used it in the past, I would venture a guess that the Kamehameha has one of the stronger just techniques, not including the amount of ki everyone has, but just as a technique alone, it definitely seems quite effective. So the fact that Buu can bust this out at any time probably could help out. I'm not sure if we'll see the Kamehameha from him, but it would be cool, a nice little throwback, because a lot of the times that Buu, the variations of Buu used it, it was actually pink, which was cool. And then this last thing, this is probably just a specialized thing that we saw when Buu was fighting Kid Buu. But as Buu was really, let me not say Buu since I'm talking about two Boos fighting each other. But as Kid Buu was really beginning to tear Fat Buu to shreds, Fat Buu did this interesting technique where he kind of split into four and was kind of pounding on Kid Buu for a little bit. I mean, this isn't really anything notable since I'm sure a lot of the characters will be able to use, the shadow clone jutsu, the multiform technique. But, it's just, I just wanted to try and get a bunch of things out that Buu could possibly use, and this definitely was another technique that would have been very interesting if he could bust this out at some point. Hey, again, Basil's super quick, so perhaps having, Buu do this and having a couple of himself might actually benefit him greatly in his match. So that's about it. I just wanted to go over some of the techniques we've seen from Fat Buu in the past. Now, obviously, there was a ton of other things we saw from Kid Buu and Super Buu, but since we didn't actually see it from Fat Buu himself, I didn't really want to go over those too much, since I can tell you guys this, I have absolute confidence that there will be no Super Buu, there's going to be no Kid Buu, no transforming into other Boos, none of that. Remember, all of the evil in Fat Buu left and became the gray, the skinny, the pure evil Buu, which eventually became Super Buu and then Kid Buu and then got exterminated. There will be no transforming of Fat Buu. I do want to say that. I can guarantee you that we're only going to see Fat Buu. There's going to be no shenanigans with that. And as a consequence, I also don't think a lot of those techniques that Super Buu and Kid Buu use, I don't think those are really on the table for this. But you guys let me know, which techniques do you think Fat Buu are going to use, and which ones do you want to see him use?